The national debt and the Fed printing money. Hi, I'm Michael J. Muccio, author of America's Battle for Free Enterprise, The Value of Incentive and Competition. And today we're going to talk about Chapter 6 in the book entitled Money Madness equals 16 trillion and climbing. Now, the strong and stable economy of the 1980s and 1990s was related to a monetary policy that was conducted in a predictable, rule-like manner. Businesses knew what was coming. Prior to that, in the 1970s, there were a series of discretionary increases and decreases in money growth and interest rates that led to high inflation, high unemployment, and low economic growth. The same thing happened when the Federal Reserve kept interest rates too low from 2003 to 2005, and it triggered excesses in housing and other markets, which brought on the boom followed by the bust. Now, am I saying that discretionary policies that actually caused the crash in 2007? Absolutely. It was government-run Fannie Mae that was making loans that ignored age-old rule of law type policies. It was the Federal Reserve keeping interest rates too low for too long. It was the government spending beyond our means. All of that broke away from consistent rule-based policies. Yet, at the same time, countries like Brazil and Mexico and Poland have been moving away from their discretionary policies of the 1980s and 1990s toward more rule-like policies. That caused them all kind of problems back then. And it's working for them to go toward rule of law, some consistency and trust in the free market, free enterprise. How about that? A complete reversal. Here we are. We didn't learn from the mistakes that they made back in the 1980s and 90s. As far as that goes, we haven't learned from our own mistakes. Yet they learned from their mistakes and have adjusted. Free enterprise and doing things with monetary policy based on the rule of law works wherever it's applied, not just in America. Problem is, in Europe and in the United States, we're moving toward a stronger central government where decisions are made by an elite handful in the federal level, and actually more socialistic policies is what that comes down to. We're moving away from the trust in the free market, free enterprise, and the power of incentive and competition and so forth. Now, with a national debt that's over 100% of GDP, that's discretionary spending that displays a mathematical insanity. But I'm an optimist. I believe we can turn things around. How are we going to turn things around? We're going to turn things around with education. America has to understand the ins and outs and the complete facts, the whole story. We can't just trust the political process of elections that takes place every 4 years, and we get our education from 30 and 60-second sound bites and talking points that are out there in TV commercials and so forth. Gee, this is unrealistic and unreasonable promises are being made that can't possibly be delivered on by the politicians. People really need to understand the dangers of printing more and more money and the too much spending more than we take in. Instead, we need to face the lesser pain of dealing with things today to avoid the catastrophic pain later. And governments tend to not want to do that. They want to get involved and do way too much. Milton Friedman said, the best is often the enemy of the good. Attempts to do more than we can will itself be a disturbance that may increase rather than reduce instability. So the government, as he's pointing out there, can actually get involved too much. Getting involved in the middle of a free market instead of letting free enterprise and trust. And I'm not saying the government can never be involved in the event of crisis, but it needs to be short-term and minimal. And as quickly as possible, can completely get back away and trust the free market. That's why having the central government putting more power back in the hands of the states, where the states are competing with each other. Any way where there can be more and more free enterprise is going to help us in the long run. And the stakes are far too high for us to blindly follow the failed policies of certain politicians and government officials. And that's why I wrote the book, America's Battle for Free Enterprise, the value of incentive and competition. And we'll be right back with more in just a moment.